the Akai Force versus the Abelton Push. Which one should you buy? If you're asking that question, today's video is for you. Now, I have owned both of these devices, but I currently only own the Force because I thought it would be a complete push replacement, because at first glance, it looked like the holy grail. But sadly, that was not the case. More on that later. All right, so let's get down to business and talk about how they're similar and how they're different, and stick around for some ideas on which one you should buy. Okay, so how are they similar? Well, the most obvious point is that they have these 64 pads in two modes, either that you can assign clips to, which are small loops, or that you can assign samples if you're playing them drum rack. And they have approximately the same workflow, more or less. You use those pads to record loops onto, and you can record into an arrange view or this DAW-like format on both Ableton and on the Force. And both of them can control Ableton, although the Force is like, yeah, sort of. The knobs and the screen on the Force do control some of the parameters in Ableton, and you can launch clips off of the 64 pads. But the thing that you can't do, and that really frustrates me, is that you can't play drum racks on those pads. And I really hope they're going to fix that later, but it bugs the hell out of me that it's not there right now. Now, how are they different? Well, now the Push is basically 100% integrated with Ableton. It's designed to work together. The Akai Force is some sort of like Frankenstein combo of the MPC and the Push, and that's not really a compliment. So with all that said, that brings us to the question, which one should you buy? And to that I say, depends. I think you buy the Force if you primarily want the standalone option. The Push, you're going to be lugging around a laptop or a Mac Mini or something like that. Another reason to like the Force is there's no latency when you're finger drumming, because for me that makes it more like an instrument. And when I was using the Push, just even that little bit of delay and latency when I push a pad to when it triggers on the computer, it's distracting to me. Back to the Force, I do really like being able to take it, set it up somewhere else apart from a computer, plug it in, and quickly record some ideas that I can export to Ableton or just leave on the Force as a sketch. Now the Push is all about Ableton. It's so deeply and intimately connected with it that it's really more of a tactile interface for using Ableton. Now there are other devices you can get that would do the same thing, the Launchpad, the Akai APC, and any other MIDI device that you can map into that. I have this guy on my desktop and I use this all the time to control Ableton. Now while some people might argue with me, I don't really consider the Push to be a performance device. I think it taps more into the production side of Ableton. Of course, you can use it for performance too, but the fact that you have to jump back and forth between using those 64 pads to launch clips or play drum racks, it's just not as conducive for performance. Force, on the other hand, is like a bodybuilder by comparison. If you maxed it out, you can have the knobs, you can have the XY pad up there on the top, you can assign the top row of those pads to launch clips, use the lower 16 on the left to play samples and drums, and use the lower 16 on the right to control macros. Oh, and you also have the crossfader. That is a hell of a lot that you can do just on that surface. So to conclude, I don't have a definitive answer for you about which one you should buy. If you do end up getting the Force and are curious about how to use it, I have a bunch of other videos on that. You can click up here to access the playlist.